Hi, everybody. This is Jason Keaton, and I've got with me today Mr. Bill Jones. How you doing, Bill?
Good, man. How you doing?
Doing good, living the dream. Bill, I know that we know each other through the martial arts BJJ thing,
Yep.
and I would just say that when I first kind of got with Mike, he always pointed to you as like a great example of a BJJ guy that really embraced the small dojo, big profits method. And
Yeah. Yeah, I found his stuff years and years ago. Uh, I was actually just researching like rotating curriculums at the time, and that's how I kind of got on with Mike. That was years. I mean, that was 2011, I think.
yeah,
So
actually, I remember my first school using his book a long time ago, and somebody just like had a hard copy and they just gave it to me. He's like, "Check out this book," and I really used it. But when I actually kind of got to work with him, he was like, "Yeah, just check out Bill's stuff." So, Bill, this has been a tough year for martial arts school owners all over the country, maybe all over the world,
they
right?
can tell me, yeah.
Yeah, 2020, the year we never asked for. So, what are tell me some things that you have done this year that has helped you kind of make it through this stuff.
Well, it's not even so much what I did this year as much as what things that I did to prepare for it. So
Mhm.
and it's prepare for what I thought was just going to be like a rainy day, right? Like,
Right.
hey, the AC blows up on me, right? What do I do? I never forever expected it to be, hey, by the way, you are literally not allowed to open your doors for 3 months. What are you going to
Right.
do?
Yeah, for
So
sure.
one of the things that Mike always talked about, and in his books, and then in coaching, and that I always took to heart, was to have how you the reason, I guess I should say, for having registration fees and what you do with that registration fee. And I think that a lot of people,
Yeah.
and I don't know why, like they look at registration fees as kind of like a fake thing, right? Like oh, it doesn't really cost $149 to get someone set up in your system or whatever. And that's not really what it's about. And I think Mike talks a lot about that. Just be honest with people. I would always tell everybody, hey, you're paying $149, 100% honest. A little bit of that goes to cover, just kind of getting you set up in our system. But a lot of it goes into what we call our rainy day fund. And I was always able to give them an example. We had a tornado blow through Cuyahoga Falls for my sign off the building. I said, but because of the registration fees, we were able to immediately replace that sign. You
Right.
know, things like that. Or look around, you notice everything looks really nice and new. That's because we do registration fees. So, and even today, like we have mouthwash stations in our restrooms. We have, all kinds of amenities, toothbrushes, deodorant, all that kind of stuff.
I
So
mean, just
it's
the
like that
general,
fund.
yeah, just the
And
general maintenance on a school costs so much. I mean, just paint, keeping it
mhm.
clean, cleaning supplies. I mean, especially, I mean, that really, I mean, every year we have to paint. We have to paint
Yep,
every time, man. So,
exactly. And like and I'm just honest with people about how they're paying for it, right? So I have no problems explaining to them where their money is going. And I think that when you're honest with people like that, they go, "Oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense." That's generally like the end of it. They're like, "Oh, okay."
yeah, it makes sense.
I'm not going to give them some BS answer like, "Oh, yeah, it's definitely going to cost me $149 to take 5 minutes and put you in my CRM." Like that's
Because you're
bullshit,
doing it while
right?
you're talking to them, right? They're just like,
Yeah,
what?
nobody believes that, right? Like that's not true. It's not anything. But when you tell them what you're actually doing with it, they're like, "Oh, okay." Plus, they get a free gi, or free, right? Because they're technically paying for it with the registration fee.
Yeah.
They get a gi, they get all kinds of stuff. So, they're fine with it. But what that does is it allows you to create a secondary fund. And then on top of that, I actually went above and beyond. There's a book that I recommend called Profit First uh, by Mike Michalowicz. I might be pronouncing the
It's
name
right.
wrong.
I'm a profit first guy myself.
Yeah, and he goes even further with that, right? You have tax, and I'm not quite as in depth as him, but I actually have two funds. So I have my main, uh, revenue fund where all the bills come in and out of on the daily. I have a savings fund where if like a 3 pay period month or something, I need to drop a little bit of extra cash to make sure I'm covering payroll. And then I have a fund that I is actually kind of really hard to get to. Um, that like for that extra.
Yeah. So I'm a big Dave Ramsey guy, and he talks about having an emergency fund. And, we have an emergency fund for our school and our home. And that sounds exactly what you have, a rainy day fund, if you will.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's been monsoon season.
And it was Mike's coaching that first got me into, thinking about that, because it's an easy thing to overlook. It's like, you look at your account and you're like, oh, okay, well, my expenses are X and I have X plus $2,000. I should be good. And it's like, it's very easy to make that $2,000 disappear if it's in the same fund as everything else.
Right.
And, you think, oh, well, I'll just build it back up next month. But the less you can touch it, the easier it is for it to stay and actually grow. So that was the first thing that I did, was just being prepared with that. And I tried to keep it over at least $10,000, both accounts, each one. So that's $20,000 in reserves. And then when everything went crazy, I kind of took a bit of a risk, but the stock market plummeted. So I took quite a bit of one of those funds and said, well, this is going to go back up, and I kind of put a lot in there, and I doubled my money.
Oh, amazing.
So, yeah, I've since pulled it out because I'm not usually someone who plays with stocks or anything. But like the minute I put about 7,000 in, and the minute I saw that it was up to about 14, I was like, okay, time to take that back out. I'm not gonna push it, right? Especially with at this time the election coming up and all that. Who knows how the market's going to react to that? So that helped a little bit as well. I've had to do a little bit of furloughing so I started with definitely a very small dojo big profits method, but I've honestly grown larger than that, right? And part of that is choice. Like I made the choice of making less money myself and hiring a manager so that I could leave in the middle of the day and know that my leads are going to get contacted and all that kind of stuff. And I've had to furlough some guys, or just kind of furlough some hours and take some of that back on myself, and then fall back on to some of my other skills with because most people know me as a jiu-jitsu guy. Most people don't realize I'm also a third-degree black belt in Shotokan and Pukulan Kung Fu. And so I actually started a socially distanced karate class to appeal to some of the parents who were scared to bring their kids into jiu-jitsu. So, and I do that a few days a week too, and that's brought kids back in. I haven't marketed it outside the school. It's only so far for kids who are in the school. But those things have helped me a lot. Just having that rainy day fund was huge. And then the other thing is just appealing to my members and talking to them and explaining to them where we stand. And because of the type of environment that you build, people actually care. And, my members, I gave them an option at the beginning. I said, look, nobody has to do this. There's no way I can hold you to any kind of contract right now. I cannot fulfill it. I said, so if you want to get out, absolutely just tell me and I will cancel you. No problem. No questions asked, once the government shut everything down. I said, but if you're capable, if you're able, and if you want to make sure that we're still here in whenever this ends, I'd really appreciate it if you consider just continuing to pay, and we'll try to find a way to pay you back later, whether, probably in the form of credit, just like, one guy's doing like a couple private lessons, another guy's doing, some people are just taking, okay, well, next year when everything's settled, and you don't feel like you're going to lose your butt on it, maybe give us, credit back those months to us during the summer or something.
Right. And that's kind of what I did. I basically said, hey, if you stick with us, this is how we're going to pay you back. We were closed down like a day, and then I was on Zoom. We did fitness classes, and kind of like you, I mean, people, I'm known for jiu-jitsu, but I really, I've done mixed martial arts and kung fu and all that stuff. So, with the kids, we did some different stuff, and, said, hey, when we come back, we'll do this. And that worked out pretty well for us. But I like what you're saying here, is because you're saying you had the rainy day fund, and you came from a small dojo, big profits kind of mentality. So generally that means low overhead, right? And then, you were able to adapt. That's three big keys, I would say, that really kind of would separate maybe. I mean, I've had actually some success this last quarter, but I mean, would you say that are the three major keys that helped you? That would help you in any emergency.
Yeah, and they definitely normally would. Now, the one thing I didn't have was the low overhead. And the main reason was 3 months before COVID hit, I had just signed a 7-year lease on my new location.
Right, I remember that.
So, which increased my, my expenses, and I kind of made a choice that I was going to. Everybody's going through the same thing. So people were willing to keep helping me. I was willing to not go to my landlord and say, hey, give me a break on this or something. I wanted to just keep everything on the level if I could. And because everybody kept paying, I was able to pretty much do that. But, it might have been a different story had things gotten drastic. It may have been a situation where, I had to break a lease or something like that, to get out of it. But yeah, it's definitely something that needs to be considered is, what is my overhead?
Yeah.
And what's it going to be? I know a place. I have a friend out in the Virginia area. So, he went from making, I think it was $43,000 a month to, in his school to 18. And, that's huge. I mean, they're done pretty much. I don't think they're going to be able to recover from that.
Sorry, that's
overhead.
Here.
Yeah, their overhead is like 10 or 11 grand a month. And that's just too much.
That's way too much. Yeah. I've had, I've talked to people that basically same situation. I mean, their overhead, I mean, they pay in rent almost as much as we make a month. I mean, it's just massive. But, the problem is, of course, when a disaster hits, things are going to shrink up. They don't have an emergency fund. They were basically spending the money or investing it or just, kind of not preparing. And then next thing you know, this stuff hits and they can't afford the rent. It's just, but I believe that's the strength of the small dojo method, is that it really helps prepare you. Because I mean, I've had friends lose their school in, different parts of the country,
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I've even talked to some of my, I have an instructor training program I go through similar to what, I don't want to say it's similar to a black belt club per se, but it's a 45-hour program that I put people through if they want to be an instructor in my school.
Right.
And before they can even be considered for it. And, I've talked to them and, some of them are interested in like having their own school later or having like, if I open a second one, I've told all of them, I said, look, there's never going to be I'm never going to open another one that is as big as this one. I would rather have, because I'm working on 300 students now, and that's awesome, but it's a lot,
Mm.
I'd rather have a school with maybe 120 students that has a third of the overhead, and you're going to make more money and have less headache overall that way. It's hard to understand that at first.
Yeah, and that is my choice. My choice is to have, we have 130 students, and it's just me and my wife, and we hire some people to help with kids classes, and I just don't want any more than that. I mean, if I did anything, I would even go smaller. Mike's always talking about the micro dojo. I'd probably go the micro dojo route after this. So in my years as I get older, I'd probably prefer it.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, and it's a matter of what's sustainable when you're not around too, right? Like, so I'm fortunate that I have a staff, but in the end, if I disappear as a human being, if I died tomorrow, it's unlikely that the staff could run the school. And it's not even that they couldn't run it. It's just that I'm the school, right? It's like an attorney's office. That attorney is the business, not, you're kind of your business. And until you get it to a certain level, that's always going to be the case. So yeah, I mean, you need to plan for exit strategies and stuff like that, and that's hard to do if you have giant overhead.
Yeah, it's definitely hard to do, and then it's just So let's talk about what can we do now. We're living in the age of the pandemic. COVID's going to last 4 more years. We don't know how long it's going to last. Keeps on going, keeps on trucking. So what are you recommending now? how are we, you know, because we can't really quit marketing. I mean, that's our lifeblood. So what's
Yeah.
the stuff we could do to move forward and be successful in the age of COVID?
So I put together what I call a 3-step marketing program. Um, and I mean, I guess you could technically call it 4, because step 1 is definitely keep marketing, right? Like when you say cut overhead, for some reason, marketing and ad spend is the first thing people want to get rid of. And it's like, no, there are so many other things you can get rid of beyond that. And I mean, there's so many amenities and things I used to do that I don't do the same anymore. Like I used to send every new person a copy of Jiu-Jitsu University by Salo Ribeiro. And that's awesome, but not now. I mean, I can't do that now. That's a $50 book, and it was an awesome, nice thing to do. But right now, we got to save that money, right? Like,
I bet those
so,
guys loved you though for it. I bet that's amazing.
yeah. And if anybody's watching and doesn't know, maybe you run a karate school or a taekwondo school or whatever. That's just a very well written, very well respected book in jiu-jitsu. It's considered one of the Bibles of
It
jiu-jitsu.
is the book I recommend to my
Yeah.
students. They say, Professor, if I can get a book, I say get Jiu-Jitsu University. I mean, it's everything I like about jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, it's so well done. But anyway, you know, so things like that can be cut. Don't cut your marketing. But yeah, step 1 is I think people need to speak to their audience more, and not only uh, in how they're writing their stuff, but literally talk to your audience, talk to your students, and find out why they're in your academy right now. And I think, and especially in jiu-jitsu, I don't know about you, but everybody I know who runs jiu-jitsu in my area has just seen an explosion of students.
Yeah.
Especially adult students. And a lot of them are saying very similar things. They needed to get out of the house. They felt too lazy. They were getting too comfortable with being lazy. You know, and of course you've got some, and I'll address this in point 2, but you've got some who just don't believe anything's going wrong, right? Like that we don't use in marketing. But there are things you can use, like, hey, are you ready to get out? Are you, you know, or for kids, you know, are your kids cooped up in the house because they're doing a lot of homeschool right now? You know, are you feeling too comfortable with being lazy? You know, things like that really speak to people's emotions and the things that they need. You know, they say that you'll take action when your wants become needs. And I think for a lot of people, their wants have become needs because they were forced to do nothing for so long. And that kind of brings me on to point number 2, which is what I would call respect-based advertising. So now that you know how your people are thinking and you've talked to them and you understand what they want, you have to figure out a way to communicate that message respectfully in your ads. Because it's very easy to go out and be like, hey, you don't want to be like one of those losers who are afraid of everything. Like, and even if that's your thought process, like, you're going to need those other people later. Once all this ends, you're going to want to be a respected business in your area. And that's not the way to have it happen. You know, like, it's just not how you would want someone to talk to you, I don't think. So I'm not going to talk to everybody else like that. So just make sure that the way you present your ads, even though you're not talking to the people who are afraid right now, you're not also putting them down.
Yeah, you're not alienating anybody for future.
Exactly. Because you know, maybe they're afraid, but they have a neighbor who they know is interested, right? They'll pass that info on to the neighbor or whatever. Marketing's weird that way.
And we have a lot of people that they would be training, but they live with like an elderly parent. And,
Exactly.
yeah, and it's not that they won't. They want to train. It's just they can't right now.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a big thing. So yeah, this is really good stuff. So please continue.
Yeah, and so, like, you know, it's kind of like you were saying. Anything I've written, I've said things like, you know, like, for example, are you ready to get out? You know, it might just be the headline. Are you ready to get out and get moving again? If I lead with that, which can be something of a divisive thing to say, you know, I'm also going to put in there, hey, there's a lot of people who are worried, or I might even put in, you know, bullet points, things that I wouldn't normally say in advertising, which is, you know, like, mats are sanitized, you know, after every single class, you know, temperatures taken at the door, whatever it is you're doing, as just like bullet points down, maybe at the end of your ad or even in a PS section, to let people know that you respect what's going on.
Yeah.
And I think that's important, because it's easy for someone to just look at the headline and be like, oh, these people don't care. And then you get a bunch of negative comments. And honestly, comments are comments. They don't really hurt you as far as marketing. They're good, but they're going to make sure more people see your ad. But you need to make sure to address things politely, and that can sometimes be challenging. I think that's a tone I've taken great care in trying to figure out.
It's been very difficult in my area, but just because we have, I'm close to a military post, and the thing is, they're allowed to do certain things. I'm not allowed to do certain things. So it's been tighter. Now it's a little bit better, I'd say. So basically what I've done is I've shown that we are, I've shown us being socially distancing and, just two kids working together and everybody kind of spread out. And that's, I've been real cautious and real aware of what I've done, but I've not stopped. I kind of stopped my Facebook ads, but I've not stopped posting, and I've definitely not stopped my Google ads. So I've done pretty well with Google ads, because what I found is that, people are still going to Google me. Those are higher quality leads. So that really, this last month has really paid off for us. And like you said, it was a lot of adult students.
Yeah, and I think right now I've probably wasted a little money on Facebook ads. You kind of mentioned that, mainly because I think a lot of people have been distancing themselves from Facebook, and I would just say social media in general, just due to the political environment.
Oh,
they're kind of tired of seeing everybody hating everybody. And so, I mean, I have probably 30 friends who have just deleted their accounts and stuff. And I think those will come back as political climates calm down and the election, whenever it ends, if it gets decided, so we'll see that come back. But yeah, I find that, especially in the last year or so, Google has been really, really strong. And Google has done a good job of streamlining their ad process too. If you used it 5 or 6 years ago, it was very confusing to set up an ad.
Oh.
And now it's real similar to Facebook.
Yeah, and I think it's been great. I mean, this last month has really kind of shown us, like, we got like a lead a day off Google, but I think though that keeping people. And I used to not believe like boosting posts and stuff like that helped, but I do believe like, showing like good classes, showing people are out doing stuff, maybe not spending the money on the ads, but maybe boosting some posts. If you have like a good post, still showing people out there living life on social media. I think that's super huge. And I think that's encouraging to others. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think, like I said, I have a socially distanced karate program I do, right? And the first day, those kids in that program were amazed, because we have 2 mats now, and they're kind of separated by one goes off towards the north, the other one goes off towards the west, and they're in different rooms, but you can kind of look through a door and see it. And these kids were clearly amazed that there were other human beings out of their homes. This had been the first time they left their homes in I don't know how long, and it's like, again, you've got to be careful how you talk to people, but I think it's also important that people see, like, they're not going to open the door and have a coronavirus monster there trying to eat them, right? Like they can be smart, and they can get out and into an environment where everybody is very respectful of the health and well-being of everybody else on their team. Yeah. And that's done in different ways. In that class, it's done socially distanced, and we all wear masks and stuff like that. But in our jiu-jitsu classes, let's be honest, I mean, we sweat into each other's eyes sometimes.
That happened to me today. I got a spicy drop of sweat in my eye. It burned. I don't think I was eating poblanos or something before he came to class, but it was like mace.
Yeah, it's like, you can't really socially distance that, so the answer there is being hyper aware, and making sure that the people you bring in are hyper aware and hyper respectful of the health and well-being of not only themselves, but the people that they're going to be around. And that brings me to kind of like my third marketing point, which is offer longer term trials and at a higher price point. And I know how valuable a short-term trial can be. and how fast that can fill up a school. If I wanted to fill up a school, and maybe not in today's climate, but any other time, I could easily offer a 30-day free trial, and within 2 weeks, there's going to be 99 people on the mat, right? Like,
Right.
how long are they going to stay? I don't know, but the point is, you can get them in the door. The downside,
they stay 30 days. So 30-day free trial, they stay 30 days.
exactly, and the downside of that is, if that's what it takes, if free is what it takes to bring them in the door, how much are they really caring about the health and well-being of the people who are there? And that's really big for me, because right now, not only do I need to gain their trust as a business owner, like everybody thinks a business owner is out to screw you over, right? Like, oh, why is this a 1-year contract? It's like, it's fine, we'll talk about it. You can get out of it. It's not a big deal. But like, I need to know that when they come in, that they're going to not show up sick, that they're going to be washing their gis and their belts and all that stuff. I need to know that I can trust them to do the right things as well. And that needs to be made real clear. And I think anybody who's willing to put $149, like I do 6 weeks for $149. If you're willing to put $149 down, and for the first 6 weeks, I think that tells me something about how much you respect what it is you're doing, how much you want it to be useful to you. And I would rather have a slower growth back to normal size than
Yeah.
a real fast one that's maybe doesn't have people that care as much.
And I think I've not even been doing trials. Even at the beginning of the year, we quit doing trials. What we found is that if they're serious, they're going to go ahead and sign up. Especially adults. I mean, kids, we can give them like a week, something like that, and kind of make sure. And we do the 30-day guarantee and stuff that Mike advocates anyway. But the thing is, it's like, the 149 seems like the best of both worlds. Because if they're serious, then we're going to know it pretty soon. They're going to put the 149 down, right? And then the other thing is too, I kind of like what you said. I mean, to be honest with you, if they're not serious about my school anyway, I mean, I always say when we're bringing people into our schools, like, hey, we're going to see if this is a good fit, but not just for you. It's also for us. Because we have people come in and this is not the school for them. And that's okay. That's not everybody's preference. Maybe they just want to do MMA and have death matches, and fight in the kumite, to honor, you know what I mean? That's not us. We're just trying to keep it low key and, kind of based on street and, kind of the old jujitsu, the old, like, you know what I mean? It's these old principles of it. So they want to do, upside down, collar, sleeve, or whatever the new fangled guard is, probably not for you, So we gotta get a feel for that. But that's interesting that you say that. Yeah, we got to make sure that they are respectful of others and that they're on board with this. Because like you said earlier, not everybody believes this is real. Well, guess what? Some people do believe it is true, because people get corona and they get sick or they can pass it on to others. So, it's kind of finding that balance with everybody. That's really tough for especially, probably any martial arts school, but especially a jiu-jitsu school.
Yeah, and even if it's not coronavirus, just the flu. Like, I don't want to be throwing up all day. Like, don't come and get me sick.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I need to make sure that there's people who are going to respect that. And if nothing else, coronavirus has given us even more ability to just be like, hey, why are you sneezing all over the place? Go take a couple days off, man. You know what I mean? Like, it's like giving us even more power to do that kind of thing. And everybody's going to be like, yeah, what are you doing? And, what are you doing, man? Don't be here sick.
My favorite is they're like, it's just allergies. It's like, well, go take some freaking Benadryl. Get on the mat. Get out of here, man. Go take some Zyrtec, bro.
Yeah, and I even put out, I'm big on videos for communication with my members. I've put out many videos where I'm saying, look, it's allergy season. I know, but you can't come in. If you think it's just allergies, that's awesome. Take the day off. And if tomorrow you're better, then great. It was just allergies. And you come in then. Like, it's just real important to bring in the right people. You mentioned signing people up day one, and I wanted to hit on that. And that's something that for us, a trial is a downsell. So like we always try to sign them up just
Right.
full go. And then like, if they don't want to, it's like, well, listen, what's holding you back here? And, most of the time if it's not money, which I can't really do anything about, right? If they honestly can't afford it, that's great. I want a Maserati. I can't afford that either. Like that's just the way it is. If it's not that, then usually it's a commitment thing, and they're just afraid of commitment for some reason. People have that natural ability, especially right now, right? Like, well, what if you guys have to close again, or what if it's not really a matter of if, but when. If someone gets coronavirus, we're gonna have to shut down for a week. Like just to make sure that to mind our P's and Q's, if you will. But that's when we say, well, listen, what we also do is this 6-week trial. It's $149, while we advertise trials, we generally try to get people to sign up day one as well. Yeah, for the same reason, it's that commitment, and it's, Mike has said it many times in his books. Chuck Norris wasn't built in a day, and you need to make sure that people are in it to actually reach their goals, and you don't get to goals without committing.
That's fact. And I mean, it's like what, and I mean, we haven't been doing the trials, but I think, especially going in, it's almost the first of the year already. We got our fitness classes too. So it's just like, we got to have some sort of trial situation. I mean, and I think what you're advocating is probably the smartest way to go about it. It's like, maybe they could get it cheaper, but for us, like, we don't need fast growth anymore. We need steady growth. And we also know that we need serious students. I mean, when I had those lower trials, like $19 for 2 weeks or whatever, I kept some of them, but not as many, right? Yeah. So, the higher the price kind of crept up, the more serious I seem. It seems like, because they're putting their money where their mouth is. So I feel better about it. And then they show that they're more serious about it too, I think. So kind of in kind of closing here, what are some things, holidays are coming up, what are some things you recommend beyond the advertising portion that school owners need to stay on top of, and if they're not doing, they should be doing?
Yeah, I mean, so to me, like, beyond advertising with ads that are specific, just make sure you're putting content out there for people to see. And guys, it doesn't have to, like, I think a lot of people hold back because they're used, you get on YouTube and you see like PewDiePie or whoever doing all these crazy things that are like, man, I can't do all that. I don't know. I'm not that creative. You don't have to be that creative. Take some videos of your school and people doing whatever it is you do. If it's Taekwondo, it's Taekwondo. If it's karate, it's karate. If it's Jiu-Jitsu, it's Jiu-Jitsu. All of it, it doesn't matter. But get that on there. And then also put some stuff that's just interesting and funny on your pages as well. Like, I like to have what we call an engagement post. I like to do 1 to 2 a week. And it could be something silly like, Thanksgiving's coming up. What's your favorite side? Your side dish or whatever. And what that's going to do is get people to engage with your page. And you'll be shocked at, like, you'll put up this real cool video of a dude doing a crazy move, and it gets like a comment, probably from your own students making fun of him, right? Like, if it's anything like jiu-jitsu, that's how it goes. It's, of course he did a wrist lock, or whatever. But like, you put up a thing about, hey, what's your favorite band name? And oh my gosh, you're going to have like 700 comments on that. And that will bring engagement to your page, and it'll show, hey, here's who we are. This is things that we are a community. We talk to each other about normal things. It's not just come in and beat each other up. And I think that's important as well.
I got to write that down. Don't talk about normal things. Don't beat each other up. I'm so focused just on the art of it. And I've seen other people do that, where they're getting just what's your favorite thing, or what are you looking forward to, or whatever. And I just, I'm not done it yet, but I didn't really have a reason. I learned from you right then. It's like, that's why you do it.
And what it does is it messes with the Facebook algorithm. The more people who are commenting on your page, the more people Facebook or Instagram or whatever are going to show it to. And now you're in front of more eyes. That just helps, because you know how it is. Like, you have 3,000 likes on your page, you could put a thing up and it's like it only gets shown to like 28 people.
Right.
Or maybe 40 days later, 200 people saw it. And without boosting it, that's hard. But if you're putting those engagement posts up, you're going to see that engagement increase on all of your stuff.
That's some good tips. Well, Bill, I definitely appreciate the time. And I would like to say that, I mean, I know that you and myself as well we're kind of moving to a little bit of the consulting side here. And so are you looking forward to doing some of that and helping others, or?
I really am. It's something I really like. It's something I've always wanted to do. Obviously probably anybody in our profession kind of likes the idea of it. We're all teachers, right? And we enjoy passing information on to others and helping other people. And that's a big thing that I like to do. And I wanted to get successful enough to do it. And when Mike approached me, I was very honored by that because, he was kind of one of the guys I looked up to when I first started, and I still do, for that matter. I mean, I think there's a lot to learn about exit strategies and stuff like that, especially from Mike. Like, he doesn't have all his eggs in one basket, and I think that's important to see. And from any business standpoint, even Bill Gates doesn't have just Microsoft. He's got more than that going on, and I think it's easy as an owner to get into that. But anyway, yeah, I'm looking very forward to working with some people. And anybody, if you have questions or whatever, feel free to ask me, or ask Jason. We're here for you guys.
For sure.
We want to help you.
Yeah, that's why we're in it. And the thing is, it's very hard to, get through some of these hurdles. But the good news is kind of once, it's just like, I have students that, man, they can't get out of a position or whatever. It's like, why aren't you doing what I ask you to do? And then they start doing it. And it's like, oh, isn't that easy? It's like, yeah, but it's still work, but you got to have the right path. You know what I mean? And that's the one thing I do like about the small dojo, big profits method is that it feels like it's really like clear, laid out. And,
I think the best way someone described it to me is it's like baking a cake, right? Like, if you're missing the ingredients or put in stuff that doesn't belong, you're not going to have a great result. And I feel like small dojo, big profits, it's those base ingredients you need to really get moving and drive forward with it and have it be something useful, as opposed, you want the cake to be a cake, not something else.
Yeah. And if I cooked it, it would come out as something else. It would.
Yeah. Me
like,
too.
this is just some sludge.
Good at business, bad at baking.
I am not a baker. All
right. I appreciate you having me on, Jason.
Hey, I appreciate it, man. I'd like to do this again. And guys, hit us up in the group. Like Bill said, if you have any other questions, we'd love to answer. Bill, you're a guy that, I wanted to, especially I started basically studying how you do stuff when Mike told me about you. So, it's an honor to be on this podcast with you. It's an honor to be in the consulting thing with you.
Yeah.